I'll start by saying, fuck prohibition. If that first word offends you, then I think your moral compass needs a bit of resetting. That first word, fuck, is actually legally acceptable in that context. Prohibition, however, is legally, morally, ethically, ecumenically, you name it, repugnant, and hence deserving of the disrespect and condemnation that I gave it. But I digress. My name's Macpherson. I'm 63 years old. My first rally that I attended was in 1979, J-Day at Hyde Park, with thousands of people in bands. I'd already been busted for simple possession. I argued in court as a minor for my civil rights, as I had read about in High Times magazines of the time, but was told by the judge that the court was not the place to make those arguments. I needed to take it up with the politicians. That's what I did, and I am still doing it now. So let this be a warning to you all. If you are a young person out there, get this job done now, unless you end up an old fart like me. I will be probably dead in 20 years. I want to die legal. I'm a serial criminal. I feel like this is a meeting of Cannabisanics Anonymous. I've been on a crime spree for decades now. My crimes are very carefully described in tiny paragraphs in law. A veritable litany of criminality. I have done some rough calculations. Over the 50 years, I would have committed millions of offences, hundreds of thousands of possession, hundreds of thousands of use, hundreds of thousands of possession of equipment, administration to others, attempted administration to others. Allowing someone else to smoke cannabis is a crime. And this is without getting on to indictable offences, the serious offences like growing a plant, which I have done multiple times as well. From the root to the seed, cannabis should be free. I'm sorry, Mike. I had a rather long trip up here. I missed my first train. I've spent 24 hours or more travelling up here and gotten about 2 hours sleep in that time. So sorry if I get a bit off track at times.
Thank you for making it here.
So, cannabis rights are human rights. Cannabis prohibition is a multi-generational travesty that has cost the community millions of dollars and senselessly made criminals of millions of law-abiding citizens. Current cannabis policy is, quite frankly, insane. We are an intoxicated society. Humans enjoy taking drugs. What right does the law have to discriminate based on one's intoxicational preferences? The most comparable other argument is that of homosexuality. Homosexuality was legalised on the basis of human rights. If cannabis is legalised on the basis of human rights, it actually informs how we develop our policies. Okay, currently they're proposing things like you can grow 2 plants. Now imagine if we legalised homosexuality, but you could only have sex twice a week. That is not legalisation. The young football player recently vilified in the media for sitting in a bath with what appeared to be a cigarette. No evidence of it being a drug. Now imagine if he was sitting in that same bath with another male football player. Would he cop the same vilification? No. It would be regarded as homosexual vilification and canophobia. They are making us out to be the criminals that we aren't. Human rights can also lead to law change. In Mexico, back in about 2015, a bunch of people were charged, took their case to their highest court and won on the basis of human rights, the fact that the law could not discriminate against them seeking happiness. It then led on to broader law changes. Admittedly, they weren't ideal, but it shows that the process can work. Locally, closer to home, a thing I found out recently, which I'm going to pursue, is a complaint to the United Nations Human Rights Committee. Back in 1991, a Tasmanian guy called Duncan took his case to the Human Rights Committee. His argument was based on the prohibition of homosexual conduct. He wasn't charged, no one had been charged under the law for some 10 years, but he was considered a person able to make the complaint because there was the chance, the fact that a policeman could, on mere suspicion, enter his home, go through his private life for what? The act of buggery? Reading through this case, Duncan versus Australia, you can replace homosexual conduct with cannabis conduct and the argument stays the same. The only limiting or, difficult factor is the fact that United Nations do recognise sex and sexual conduct. They do not recognise drug conduct or intoxicational preference. The Pennington Control report that came out recently argues for cannabis legalisation, basically saying that they have the right to make gobs of money. Their suggestion for personal use is that you can only grow 2 plants. That is not legalisation. It should be like wine. If you want to grow grapes, you can grow as many grapes as you like. You can make as much wine as you like, and you can share it freely with family and friends. The only thing you can't do is sell it, because that's when excise, tax, and health and safety comes into the equation. So I should be able to grow as much cannabis as I want, and without the evidence of sale, it should be allowable. I know people who grow and breed cannabis purely for the fun of it. They hardly smoke anymore, but they enjoy breeding plants to share with their friends. Yeah, all of these things should be allowed. They all fall under your human rights. As I said, if we push it as a human rights issue, it is really an optimal time at the moment, because New South Wales is having a debate about introducing a Human Rights Act in New South Wales. So it is a very contemporary thing that we can grab and get actual media engagement and attention to the issue, which is what we need to do. Last year, I ran a petition. I put a couple of $100 into making pamphlets, stickers, stuck them around town, all sorts of stuff. Okay, I only got 1,400 signatures. Pathetic, I know. I could collect 1,400 signatures in a day back in the 80s on paper. We need to start doing these things to demonstrate that there is the support. There is 80% support for decriminalisation. 20% of the population smokes. So there are 3 times as many people who support us who don't smoke as there are who do. Why do they support us? Human rights.
And stoners are lovely.
That is the basic reason why they agree with it. I bring up the cannabis issue with everybody. When I jumped in the taxi, I talked about cannabis. The driver told me about his stories of mates who grew back in the day. Everywhere I go, you know, if the shop person asks me, is there anything else I can help you with? Oh yeah, you could legalise cannabis, but I guess that's not something you can do. And all of these people will support you. They talk about stigma, but really, if 80% support us, where is this stigma coming from? 50% support legalisation. So if it's not you, it's the person sitting next to you. How am I going time-wise?
All right, it's only 15:15. You've got another 10 minutes.
Okay, legal rights. Cannabis rights are legal rights. We do not lose our legal rights simply because drugs are involved. Arguably, illegal searches can be rendered legal by unnecessary compliance. Most people think that if a drug dog sits next to you, a police officer is entitled to search you. He is not. A drug dog sitting next to you by itself is insufficient evidence to support a search. That is from the official police documentations. I have copies of them here if you want to look at them. Same with medical cannabis. Medical cannabis, you are allowed to, in New South Wales, to carry your medical cannabis in any container that you wish. The same as you can with any other medicine. You do not have to keep it in its original container. There are police guidelines for how to deal with medical cannabis. They can't just take it off you. However, and a lot of people don't know this, if you are in licensed premises and a police officer, or the publican, finds out that you have cannabis on you, he is required to remove you from the premises because he himself can't prove the validity of your prescription. He needs the police to validate your prescription, and then you'd be allowed on there. Now that's for medical cannabis. Does that mean that if you're on licensed premises with any prescription medicine, it's the same case? What you have in your pocket that you think, depressants or something like that could be MDMA. The publican isn't able to tell. The other things in terms of legal rights. Don't say anything. Particularly if you are in a group space, keep your drugs. You know, if there were drugs sitting on the ground here and they arrested me, I would get off because they are not in my physical control. There's a case, Filippetti versus Crown, which establishes this. I got busted at a rally, sitting in front of a table with 3 bongs and a bowl with like 1.5 ounces of pot. Go to court. I went through with the magistrate, establishing my credibility as a witness, fully admitting that I had cannabis in front of me, but it was not mine. It was not in my exclusive physical control. If I'd attempted to pick that up and leave, I would have been mobbed worse than the police were mobbed when they tried to take it away. I got up in court and admitted all of this. The police are looking at me going, what is this guy doing? And then I hit it with the coup de grace. Filippetti versus Crown. I did not have exclusive physical control. If you've got pot in your house and it's on a table in the living room and they arrest you, but not your partner, who's to say it wasn't hers? If you were married, it would be a most interesting case. The husband goes, "Oh my God, my wife's smoking again. She told me she'd given up." The husband does the same thing. What is the court going to do?
Give it to the dog.
we need to take this issue by the scruff of the throat and make it an issue at this next election. Minns claimed that he did not have a mandate. He is on record as saying that he supports decriminalisation. There are numerous reports, the 80% of the population that supports it. That is enough of a mandate. In allowing alcohol in Western Sydney football stadiums, he stated, "It's time we started treating adults like adults." That sounds like a perfect phrase to apply to cannabis as well. Use Minns's words against him. Next week, the driving legislation will likely return to Parliament. We need to get out there and protest. We need to protest outside Parliament. May Day, originally back in the 1980s, was run by Normal. We held rallies every year through most of the 80s with up to several to 10,000 people in Martin Place. We need to do that again. We need to get this issue out there and into the public space, and hence into the politicians' space. So if you want this, we need to start doing stuff. I have already registered myself as a political candidate for the next election. Even if I registered myself for Kiama, but they ran a candidate, so I didn't have to run. But it is at least on their website now that there is an early registered candidate for cannabis law reform.
Thank you.
And I don't know if I'll run for legalised cannabis or for my own thing, or whether I'll simply pivot to being a third-party campaigner, and hence give myself the ability to do whatever I want and not be limited by legalised cannabis party policy.
Yeah.
And that, again, is a really good thing to do. Because if I get a third-party campaign going that is slightly different to your campaign or your campaign, then we can argue against each other. We used to do that all the time back in the 80s. Create your own opposition to argue against and get the argument out there. As I said, I'm old. I'm 63. I started doing this before I was 18. And I honestly don't want to die a criminal. I know that I'm not. So please help me, help yourself, and we will get there.
Let's go.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Macciza. That's fantastic.
I hope it made sense.
That was great, yes. And it's amazing to see someone with such fantastic passion as an advocate for cannabis law reform.